All right, guys, we're back. Another episode of Storyalysis. I am Pierre.
And I'm Chris.
All right. Um, so if this is your first time on the channel, I guess poetry brought you here. And if you were there for the other things that we did, like it's mentioned in the description, we Christian and I are big fans of great storytelling, regardless of the art form. So we've done TV shows, The Last of Us, anime, Vinland Saga, and the last episode of Attack on Titan. Now we're moving on to poetry. And I've been sprinkling that over in the previous episodes, but I am a huge fan of poetry. Christian knows this. So
Yep.
this is basically my realm. And to me, poetry's fucking it's like a meditation. It's fucking there. Poetry's like my gospel, bro. Like to me, poets are top tier artists. Like the ability to convey so much through like such an ephemeral art form. Like poems are like 3 to 5 minutes tops, and throughout this time to teleport us to some of the heaviest topics, anecdotes through the usage of metaphors, similes, personification. It's just these dudes are just gods. They're gifts. They're gems.
You've never told me if you yourself wrote a poem. Have you ever wrote poetry before?
Oh, I have wrote a poem.
A
I have wrote a
single
poem
poem
actually.
or multiple poems?
Just one poem.
Just one poem,
Yeah, I wrote a poem.
huh?
Crazy
You
shit.
gotta send it to
But
me.
yeah, I gotta send it to you, Christian. Of course. Yeah, just like I send
Of
you my short
course.
story ideas. Yeah, man, we're we're
Yeah.
we're, we're rolling. We're rolling. Yes, and speaking of art forms too, guys, we'll be doing books next. It's still in the works, but
Hell yeah.
we're doing books.
That's
So,
my domain.
and that's Christian's domain. So to start this off, we will be covering Phil Kaye. Phil Kaye as button poetry is what I listen to constantly. Since the shit, when was this? I think freshman year in college. First poem I heard was OCD by Neil Hilborn, which is on the list. We will cover that when we get to the heartbreak portion. Ever since, I've been like, bro, like this is just good. Like I have drunk all these poets' words. I've freaking bathed in their thoughts and just
Damn.
it's just it's just indulging to just such talent. But anyway. So yeah, this is Phil K. Teeth. The link will be somewhere in the what does the YouTuber say, Christian? The links is somewhere.
Description down below in the description.
Sure. That's what some of these folks be saying. All right, yeah. So let's go, Christian. Let's go.
And make
Wait. You have anything
sure
to
make
say?
sure Yeah, make sure that you listen to the poem by yourself first and then come back here because we're going to be pausing and then speaking as we go. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go.
Oji-chama is what I call my Japanese grandfather. In 1945, his Tokyo home was burned to the ground. Grampy is what I call my American grandfather. In 1945, he was serving on the USS Shangri-La, sending off American planes to burn down Japanese houses. Our jaws have not yet healed. 1906, Poland.
All right, Christian. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. 1945. Right.
Yes.
This man, one grandfather on well, we already listened to the whole poem. Grandfather on dad's side, American. Grandfather on mom's side,
Oji-chama. Oh, no.
Japanese.
Grampy.
Yes.
Yeah. Grampy
Grandfather
and
on
Oji-chama.
yes. So this man is a product of two nations, two races. That in 1945. Which World War was this? One or two? I think you already mentioned it. Damn, that's bad.
It's 1945 is when the U.S. dropped the atomic bombs over
Okay.
the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and
Yes, Hiroshima
Nagasaki.
and Nagasaki. Okay. So basically at war, which is which is insane to think like your family tree is made up of branches that were at war at some point in time. that's,
Right.
that's so dope. Anyway,
It's
what is your
wild.
take, Christian? What is it? What do you got to say?
Well, there's none to say yet. It's
I
just
know,
what you
right?
pointed out that he comes from two distinct families. Yeah.
Literally.
It
All
lays
right.
the foundation for what he's about to say.
Yep.
Grampy's father is hiding in an oven. He doesn't know the irony of that yet. He has heard men singing on the streets below. Hyenas, my family calls them. After celebration drinks and song, the outside townspeople come into the Jewish ghetto for a celebration beating. Molar fireworks and eyelid explosions. Even when Grampy's father grows up, the sound of sudden song breaks his body into a sweat. Fear of joy is the darkest of captivities. 1975.
Okay. So, one thing I want to speak on when he says fear of joy is the darkest of captivities. So, to rise out of darkness, the main climbing tool that we have as humans is the ability to keep our hearts bright in those very dark situations. And one crucial form of brightness is joy. So to be robbed of joy, which is an essential component of keeping a heart light and hopeful, it causes damage to that climbing tool like no other. So to have that inflicted on your personal climbing tool is incredibly, as he says, it plunges you into a dark that's darker than regular darkness.
Right.
So it's a powerful line.
Very powerful line. So, seriously, no, he does this very well. Like Phil Kaye always has these lines, like what he just said here: "Fear of joy is the darkest of captivities." And in repetition, which we'll do, he says something like, "Time is the most cruel teacher." Like he has these lines that are just like from him, because I haven't heard these quotes anywhere else. It's just like, wow. But yes, let's the recap. 1906. Grampy's dad is hiding inside of an oven. He doesn't get the irony. Damn, Christian, he's Jewish. Like gas chambers that they got put on and the concentration camps. He doesn't understand.
And,
like, yes,
and those
go ahead,
happened in 1941. Just want to
exactly
throw that out there.
Yes,
this is 1906.
Yes, so those will happen. Like Polish people that, when they got their belly filled, it was like they're laughing, singing in the street, like, yeah, let's go kill some Jews. Like because of that, he's hiding in an oven. Like, and the way he paint the picture, molar firework and eyelid explosions. Just poets have this ability to embellish some of the darkest scenes with the usage of words that have no place in these scenes. Like when you think fireworks, explosions, it's like a 4th of July party. But no, dude, they're dying. Like Polish people are beating them. Like sons are hiding in ovens, hiding underneath tables. But it's just the way he paints it. Just, it's insane.
I couldn't help but have, hopefully this isn't like too inappropriate. It's just, this is the image that came up in my head. Yeah, you've seen the movie The Purge, right?
No, actually.
Like it's like this. Oh, you have?
I know what it's about.
Okay, so to those who don't know, it's like this movie where in order to eliminate crime, the governments of that world came up with this idea where one day everybody is allowed to murder anybody else for free. So, and you won't be punished for it. So these people, they don masks, and then once the day hits, they just go out on a killing spree. So I imagine like that movie, there's this like sense of joy that people have. Like they have these masks on and they're roaming the streets like giddily going to kill somebody, and then you might have somebody who's like afraid of murder just hiding in their house while there's like this celebratory vibe mixed with this murderous one outside their house. So that's what I thought of here. It's very similar.
And the knowledge, like the knowing that, hey, I can kill these people and nothing will happen to me. Like there's a TV show called Warriors. Yes, there's a TV show called Warriors where the Chinese were in California in the early 18s or 17 or 19s. I forgot the timeline. That the Irish and the white folks sometimes can beat them if they want. Like, hey, you're just a chinks. Nothing's going to happen like to me. It's just to live in this constant fear, hiding with your parents. Like, imagine parents knowing that you can't protect your kids. You can only like hide because the guys outside will freaking like come in and kill you. And and the trauma that his grandfather's dad carried with him, even as a grown man, Christian, the sound of joy just sends shivers down his bones. Because as a kid, hearing joy, like fear of joy, is the darkest fact of captivities. Hearing noises, laughter outside, you know, oh shit, it's about to go down. Bro,
Yeah.
it's like it's like being imprisoned by like Ramsay Bolton in Game of Thrones and hearing him laughing, walking to your cell. It's like
Yeah.
hearing Homelander laughing and walking to you as you're chained. Like, bro, Homelander from The Boys. It's just, dude.
Yeah. Like to
Ah,
associate something so that's supposed to be happy with something that's so horrible. That's a
yeah, right?
very topsy-turvy thing to wrap your
Yeah.
head around.
It's borderline a paradox, but like not because, you know, like fear paradox would be like opposite incident, like courage, and joy would be like sadness. But like this is extreme positivity, joy with like negativity in a way. Fear is negative, so it's insane, man. But he has a way with words, bro. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on. Next section.
Okay.
Tokyo. My father, a long-haired student with a penchant for sexual innuendo, meets Reiko Hori, a well-dressed banker who forgets the choruses to her favorite songs. 12 years later, they give birth to a lanky light bulb. 1999.
All right.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this is quick. I don't even have to explain this. Yeah, this is basically when his dad met his mom in 1975. Dad Jewish, met mom in Tokyo, and he was born 12 years later. I like how he described himself, Linky light bulb. So 1975, 12 years later, 1987. Phil Kaye was born in 1987. Okay. All right, let's keep going. 1999.
My mother speaks to me in Japanese. Most days, I don't have the strength to ask her to translate the big words. We burned that house down, Mother. Don't you remember?
Damn. All right. All right, Christian, take
Burn
that
that
one.
house
Just go ahead, bro.
down. Yeah. We burned that house down. It's basically just another way of saying that like that is a part of our history that we don't even acknowledge anymore, right? Like we quote unquote burned it down mentally as well. Like it literally was burned down, and then mentally it's like we burnt down that part of our history. It's
Yeah.
no longer remains.
But yeah, oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah. I know you brought this up to me outside of the podcast that
Yeah.
you took issue with the fact that the poem focuses more on his like white side than it does his Japanese side.
Right, that's like full circle at the end. But yeah, but this part, yes, this part too had bothered me too, because it's because he's 12. This is 1999. He's only 12 years old. Telling your mom we burned that house down. We means like is just like you're siding with that side. So basically, it's basically saying, hey, dad and I, we burn that side. We burn that like because dad is the son of Grampy who was sending missiles to Japanese people in 1945. Like it's like you're choosing a side already. I didn't like that comment, but it's his anecdote, it's his life story, and he was 12 years old. You can't really judge a 12-year-old kid. But yeah,
But it also like it reflects in the poem too, right? Like in his child version, the history of his Japanese side was burned down. So it kind of reflects in how he structured this poem, because it's like his Japanese side, he grew up not really learning much about it. So the side that he grew up learning a lot about, he's giving a lot of attention in the poem. So
I
maybe that's an
understand.
intentional decision that he
Yeah.
did. Or maybe it's not. Who knows?
Oh no, he's a this is a smart man. This is a Christopher Nolan, Christian. This is an M Night Shyamalan minus Avatar. So yeah, this man doesn't put things in a story with for no reason. But yeah, okay. No, okay, you're right. I'll take you up on that. All right, 1771 Prague. Let's
Yeah.
go.
1771, Prague. In the heart of the city is a Jewish cemetery, the only plot of land where Grampy's ancestors were allowed to be buried. When they ran out of room, they had no choice but to stack dead bodies, one on top of another. Now there are hills made from graves piled 12 deep, individual tombstones jutting out crooked like valiant teeth emerging from a jaw left to rot.
One thing I want to say on the cemetery, he painted this imagery very beautifully, because cemeteries are, of course, locations that are filled with the bodily remains of the dead. And he superimposed this image of a skull onto a cemetery. And then he had the details of that skull composed of the various aspects of a cemetery, like the hills and the tombstones forming teeth. And I think that's really brilliant, the way he combined the concept with the imagery. Very well done.
Yes. And also, too, notice, well, it's a different country because the Jews were persecuted in so many countries within Europe. Because 1906, Poland, that was Poland. 1771, before that, Prague is Czech Republic. I don't know if that's the capital, but I don't know if it was still that at that time or if it was a bigger empire or something. But just to show you, like, the persecution was severe and vast within that continent. like these people basically couldn't escape. And also another thing too, a small cemetery, as in a very small portion, was left for Jewish people to bury their loved ones. Like the lack of space to show a lack of consideration. Like it's like, hey, you only get that little spot, so they have to pile on top of each other, 12 deep.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, you can, there's so much that's left out, but you can read in between the line of what these people went through for a long time.
Put the pieces together.
Yeah, because this is 1771. This is years before. Like 1906 was Poland. Like, and it's just, it's insane, man. Like, it's crazy shit. But the way he pictured that too, bro, like freaking giant teeth emerging from a jaw left to rot because they're all spiking out the tombstones. Like, they're all crooked because they didn't have space to put them flat. You know, cemeteries that we know is just flat surface with tombstones on them. But that's not the case because they didn't have that much. Bro, crazy shit. All right, 1985. Parents' wedding.
1985. My parents' wedding. The two families sit together, smiling wider than they need to. Montague must be so happy we can Capulet this all go.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Romeo and Juliet, made by William Shakespeare, the two main feuding families in that were Montague and Capulet. So, yeah, I still need to reread Romeo and Juliet. I need to read it so that I'm well versed when things like this happen.
Yeah,
I mean, I know the family names, but like, still.
Leonardo's family was a Montague and Juliet was a Capulet. Yeah, but that's true. Another thing too, there are two families or rivals, like you just said, and these two families have Japanese side, American side. Although it's 1975, it's years after the bombing, the Pearl Harbor and whatnot, but still, there's tension. But Montague must be so happy we can let this all go. You must be so happy we can let this all go.
Yeah, you pointed that out to me. I didn't catch that at first, that he was like using half of the word to finish the sentence.
Because it's two families. Names. Because there's two of his families. Bro, this man's top tier. All right, 1999.
It also shows that he's well read too.
Yes. Oh, dude, Christian, you've heard this man's vocabulary. This man is Chuck Rose from Billions, Christian. What you talking about? this man's vocab is top notch. This is Moira from Schitt's Creek. But anyway, let's go.
1999. I sit with Grampy's cousin, 91 years old and dressed in full military uniform. He says, "Hate is a strong word, but it is the only strength that I have left. How am I to forgive the men that severed the trunk of my family tree and used its timber to warm the faces of their own children.
Pause.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
Christian.
so you did point this one out to me because I completely missed it in my first listen. Uh, when he said, "How am I supposed to forgive the men who severed the trunk of
Severed
my
trunk
family tree?"
tree
Yeah, and use
and
this
use
timber to warm
timbers.
the faces of their own children. Like severing the family tree, like that diagram
Trunk.
of a family tree, and he severed it.
Yeah. That
That's some nice imagery right there.
it's a double entendre, Christian. Yes, this man's a rapper. Like, how am I to forgive the man who chopped the trunk of a tree, of my family tree, and use a timber from tree? Like, bro, it's just But at the same
That
time,
was good.
focusing on the word is like, beautifully delivered, of course, but it's the depth behind that. Years later, Grampy's cousin is very old, still holding that hate and saying hate is all I have. Like, how am I to forgive? We're talking about like the persecutors from whether it was Poland, whether it was Czech Republic, whether it was Germany, whatever, all the countries that were just gang up and made life a living hell for the Jews in Europe. Like, how am I to forget these people? Now, another thing too, Christian, when he said people that cut the trunk of my family tree and use their timbers to warm their children, it reminded me of First Class. Um, my three favorite X-Men. That's my third favorite actually. It's Days of Future Past, The Last Stand, and First Class. And X-Men First Class, young Magneto goes to Argentina because a lot of the Nazis in real life actually fled to South America, and Argentina opened their doors to him. Magneto told a few guys, my family's names were taken from them, and they were taken by pig farmers and tailors because the two guys sitting on the table were a pig farmer and a tailor, but they were German, old Nazis, which is actually true. Because if you read through what happened with the Jews, they robbed them of their names and gave them codes, like they tattooed numbers on their arms, like
That's a
like
man.
so they actually severed the trunk of my family tree. Because if you think about it, Christian, your name is one of the most important pieces needed to trace back your lineage. So your family tree is severed when someone robbed you of that. Like, like even the slave that come to this country in the United States. Like, yeah, you made sure to give them new names. I don't know if they even got names. Like, make sure to freaking do whatever you can to cause them to not be able to trace back where they came from. Because when you have a loss of identity, it's hard for you to even move forward because you don't know how you started. Like, your genesis is very important to your future. But it's just crazy shit, man. This bro. Just Phil K, bro. Christian,
And
man.
real quick thing I want to slip in here. You reminded me when you said this thing about code names. There's this book called Anthem. They might have made you, if you grew up in America, they might have made you read it in high school. I reread it again recently. It's a very interesting book because it was written in like the 1900s,
Mm.
but it comes off as if it was like a modern book. It's really well written. The main character is somebody called, they refer to him as Equality 29 whatever, like a bunch of digits. And in the book, the author doesn't write with the word I. So wherever you would typically see the main character speaking with regards to himself, he would use the word we because they abandon, or they, I don't want to spoil the story too much, but pretty much like he uses the word we, and everybody has code names that are used to identify themselves.
Hmm.
And it's a really interesting book. And I just immediately thought of that when you said that everybody has code names, or people were assigned code names as a way of
Yeah.
severing ties to their lineage.
You're just a number.
That's a wild concept. Yeah.
And mentally too, from your end, it cuts you out and shit, dehumanize you. But that's another thing too. It dehumanizes you in your oppressor's eyes too. And once you're referring to someone as 56629 instead of Pierre, it's like, I don't know.
Mm,
Well, you're already wicked for doing the shit you're doing to them, but it dehumanizes them even more on both ends. You're just a number. You're just a statistic. You're just fuck. I can't get, as a black man, I can't get into that. Let's focus on Phil K. Let's take it 2010. Let's wrap this up.
all
All
right.
right.
2010. Grampy and I sit together watching his favorite, baseball. Grampy sits in his wheelchair, teeth gasping out of his gums like Valiant tombstones emerging from a cemetery left to rot. The teeth sit staring, and I can read them. Louis Bergman, killed at Auschwitz. Sarah Lease, killed at Dachau. William Kane, killed off the coast of Okinawa. I will never forget what has happened to our family, Grampy. And he looks at me with the surprised innocence of a child struck for the first time. Philip, forgetting is the only gift I wish to give you. I've given away my only son, trying to bury my hate in a cemetery that is already overflowing. There are nights I am kept awake by the birthday songs of children I chose not to let live. They all look like you. The plague on both your houses. They have made worms meat of me.
All right, Chris, you can go first. I'll go last. Or you know what? Save the best for last. You can go last. Dude.
No. Okay, now I'm gonna go first.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Again, I mentioned this to you before, but I love the tonality in his voice when he says "a plague on both your houses," because he sounds so wise when he says that. Like he takes on this old soul persona when he says that word, those few words specifically, "a plague on both your houses." So dope. It's so cool.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is insane. And I also like how he continued on his imagery with the skull and the cemetery and the tombstones. Yeah, like he imbues more meaning into that.
Bring it full circle. Yeah,
and giving us more details of the picture that he's just drawing.
And a closer look too. A closer look, because at first it was just tombstones. Now he's reading off the dead bodies, like some of the Jewish people who lost their lives in the locations they died. It's like making this more meaningful. Like, this is not just a tombstone. This existed because XYZ lost his or her life. She had a family. He had a family. But as beautiful as it says, you mentioned this already in the beginning, right? I had an issue with this. What was my issue with this? He focused a lot on the Jewish side, which I understand. The Jews went through a tragedy. That is insane. Like, it's
one of the worst tragedies in human history.
I wasn't there. Yeah, I can't even imagine. And those are only the things we know, because those are like the PG-13 version. Crazier shit must have gone down that we will never know about, that survivors will hold in and won't even be able to like just jot down. It's just that traumatic. It's the atrocity is insane.
If anyone wants a real gritty look at what happened during the Holocaust, go read Night by Elie Wiesel. That is one of the most authentic and descriptive accounts, I think, of the Holocaust, because it's written from the perspective of somebody who was actually in, or who went through the Holocaust and made it out alive. And he's a very good writer too, fantastic writer.
Probably should. I watch movies. I was gonna freaking recommend Schindler's List. Life is Beautiful. Oh my goodness.
I've heard of that one.
Oh my goodness. This father goes to crazy lengths to embellish the whole concentration camp experience to his son. I'm talking like to preserve his son's innocence. Like, this is just a fun game. Like, we're not dying. They're not exhausting us. This is all fun. Bro, there's some movies I'm never gonna rewatch again. Like Life is Beautiful, Sleepers, The Lovely Bones, A Time to Kill. No, there's some movies, just A Walk to Remember. I just can't sit through these for a second time. Like, bro, nah. Yeah, like right. Like I was saying, I can't even begin to imagine that. It's a tragedy. It's something on a global scale, like to have multiple countries, multiple groups of people with a united hate for a group, for like whatever their reasons are, which might seem to be fucking shallow if you think like it's Jewish, like your religion, like your beliefs. Just people have always been wicked since the dawn of time. It's fucking insane. Yes, that was one of my concerns. He focused a lot on his Jewish sides, but not on his Japanese side, because they too, like Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and your grandparents, your what he called his grandfather, I don't remember.
Ojichama.
Ojichama, right? Like telling your mom, we burned that down. Don't you remember? So I was a bit uneasy with that, but the end, him telling Grampy, like I'm never gonna forget what these people did to us, and Grampy flipping this whole story, like forgetting is all I want to give you. Like I have chosen birthday songs of children I chose not to let live. I have sent bombs to kill Japanese children who look just like you. Like, do you know how insane, like, of an accountability level that has to be? Like, you have went through so much. Your family tree has been severed. Your father died with shivers when he heard people laughing because he never got over that. But you manage to trump that and put your guilt, your accountability above it. Like, yes, I went through a lot of things. That's true. But I chose to kill Japanese people who look just like you. Like, birthday songs of children, I chose not to let live. I chose. They didn't force me to join the army. Like, I chose. So that's. I hope I didn't misinterpret this because I've watched this poem like 40 times. I listened to this poem like 40 times. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness. And when every time I watch this, I'm like, Grampy went full circle. Like, Phil, yes, I went through something, but I'm also sorry for what I did. I also did something. So him not siding at all, not being empathetic at all throughout the whole poem with his Japanese family, and him choosing to end it on a note that just flipped the script to be like, hey, they were hurt too, and I'm sorry about that. I thought that was beautiful. Like, wow,
Mm.
that's insane. That's a level of accountability that is just like inhumane. It's like like wow, because it is true.
Well,
The world that's glanced over, but the ramifications of the atomic bomb in those cities, the radiation, like that shit took a long time for Japan to like
yeah.
rebuild. But still. But there's also Pearl Harbor. So for that reason, this is why I enjoy this poem. So that's why I wanted this to be the first one that we start with because there's just so much in there. Like I was mentioning in the beginning, in 4 minutes and 30 seconds, this man just went through his whole family lineage. Very short, yet very thorough. it's powerful shit, man. You know, yeah. Honestly, man, like I really want to thank you for greenlighting this idea because this is like poetry. I have a fucking strong affinity for poetry. Like I listen to a lot of poetry, which you see is it's a long list that we have of like poems that we're gonna go through. And like,
Yeah, yeah. I
dude, you're a
remember like
fucking.
when
Go
I
ahead. Go ahead.
remember when we first it was when because I know the first thing that we started talking about on the phone just for fun was like Game of Thrones. Back when it was good.
Okay.
Uh and then I remember something about I forget the specifics, but you said that like you would sit in a kitchen, I think, and just read button poetry or listen to button poetry
Listen.
all
Yeah.
day. So I know this is poems are big for you,
Yeah. No,
and
dude, it's
it
sick.
makes sense
It,
because like it speaks to your ability to appreciate other storytelling because you're open minded about anime, you're open minded about poetry, and
yep.
now you're starting to tell me you're open minded about books, which is dope. So yeah, man, it's this will be cool.
No, this is big, man. And you don't even know how big this is for me to actually finally do this because I've broken all these things down in my head years ago already, but there's no one to talk to about it. so,
Mm.
so I'm just, and I'm still able to have the same excitement as when I listened to them the first time because they're just so good. So, dude, so fucking thank you for letting me do this with you and
Yeah, yeah,
allowing
no
me to
problem, no
fucking
problem.
steer this ship. Like as we embark on this new journey and make pit stops at a plethora of mundane yet
Look at
individually unique
the,
topics such as
he got hit with the poetry bug. Listen to him. Look at
depression,
him.
suicide, heartbreak, sexual assault, racism, guilt, and many more. We're literally going to go
Yep.
through a bunch of different topics. This is going to be a freaking long ass ride, and this is the first little stop at Philgay. So
Yep.
Thank you, man. I fucking appreciate this shit. So, what else
Yeah.
from that? What else are we doing? Is that
That
it?
is it. Yep.
That's it. I'm going to sleep. All right.
All right.
Oh,